Hello everyone, it's me, Steely, and I'm so excited to be back with another YouTube video deck guide for all of you Gwent players. This one is going to be a fun one, trust me. I have not had this much fun with Gwent in a really long time. The new patch is out, so are the new decks, and Scoia'tael fans are really happy because guess what? We have such amazing combos now, and it is definitely such fun to play. I'm so excited to share this one with you. I hope you try it out yourself and just enjoy playing this deck. I've been playing this deck since the first day of the patch, and I've played it on stream. A lot of my viewers have tried it out. I think they all have liked it so far. So yeah, I definitely recommend you guys try it out as well. It's just amazing fun. Yeah, if you want to play a powerful deck that can put just insane points on the board in a short round, this is the deck for you. It requires quite a bit of setup, but once you got that setup done, it is easy breezy, beautiful. It's Gwent at its finest, really, in my opinion. So yeah, if you want to play combos like this one.
The soil is fertile with life. The valley of flowers. There is no place more beautiful.
Then you should totally try out this deck. So let's take a look at these cards and see what they do and how you will set up the combos. This is quite an important part because learning these combos can be a little bit difficult in the beginning. Maybe not the easiest deck immediately, but after you try it out a little bit, I'm sure you will enjoy it. So let's check it out. So what do the cards in our deck do? Which ones are super important and enable for fun combos? Let's take a look. NR, really great tutor for this deck. Be skilled and find it before round 3, please. Of course, it can happen that you don't, but this card does thin a lot, and NR just helps you find all the pieces. Very nice card to have. Then we can move on to Simless. He's my favorite grumpy man from Gwent right now. His voice lines are really hilarious. Absolutely love him. Of course, what he does is he plays all copies of a bronze special card from your deck. This deck has a couple of targets. In the games I've played, there was a Tempering and a Dryad's Caress that has been switched to Double Caress to kind of help. Sometimes Simless Double Caress can be useful in matchups like against Nilfgaard or Syndicate where there's a lot of poison. It can be quite helpful and nice to have. And then of course he has the off-target Double Pact, but the main combo that you want is this new card, Orb of Insight. So with Simless, you can use these orbs to hopefully create a really nice orb chain in your graveyard. And with the help of your leader, a lot of people on my stream have asked, why do we play this leader? Well, it's to trigger cards like Francesca and Alzer in one turn with the help of the orbs. With Simless, you will play them out. You can play one orb on an Elven Seer, for example, to create a copy of it, and then you have the perfect orb chain with 3-2-1 cooldown in your graveyard. And when you use your leader or something like a Necromancy into Alzer, a Necromancy into Francesca, the orbs will come out from your graveyard and trigger these cards, aka Alzer and Francesca being kind of the main cards that benefit from that orb combo. But yeah, Simless usually a card that you might want to play round 1, either to win the round, or you can save it for round 2 if you are getting bled. It can be a nice card to have there. Quite flexible, but definitely you want to play it early because it does thin out your deck, which can help your draws later on, and it's just amazing points, and winning round 1 with it is very likely. Then we have our favorite mage, Alzer, who gives out thunderbolts to everyone, Oprah style. You get a thunderbolt, you get a thunderbolt, and you get one. Well, it really works out in this deck because you will of course aim to play this with your leader. If you are playing against something that you know is devotion and doesn't have a way of killing Alzer, you can greed Alzer and Francesca, play them both at the same time, have them trigger at the same time. But that is only if you are playing against something that doesn't have much control, which is very nice that we have our leader. Alzur comes on board. Usually you want to place a melee row when you play it with your leader and you have the orbs as targets for Alzur. He could create something like a hawker smuggler on the melee row, which is really nice. If you are greeting him and have him on board, then play a Necromancy at some point, you might want to place him ranged row, because you could find something like Keltolis, and Keltolis can be a little bit dangerous, so you don't want her on melee row. It depends a little bit, but be observant with your Alzur placement. Then we have Call of the Forest, another nice tutor card that we don't have to be really conservative with. We can play it exactly when we feel like there is something good to tutor out with it. Francesca can help you when you bleed round 2, or she can help you in round 1. A lot of the time, Francesca can create even more orbs for you. So in an ideal situation where everything goes the way you want to, you play Simlas round 1, Francesca round 2, and Alzur as a short round 3 card. A lot of the time, you could play Alzur round 2, Francesca round 3 as well. Or both of them in the same row. You can definitely 2-0 quite a lot with this deck. Then we have the Save on Me. So for example, you could get a double Save carryover card if you play Francesca round 1. That's a pretty cool play that you can make. Other than that, of course, you don't want to find this in round 3. It's a little bit unfortunate. Ideally, you play this out round 1 and then get carryover. I think it's a cool card that does fit nicely into this deck. Isengrim's Council helps us tutor out our cards. It's always going to be guaranteed on Harold Gordon Fog. And other than that, you can always find your useful elves. Fog, on the other hand, does tutor out a nature card, pretty straightforward. And the Gourd, our finishing play. The Gourds in this deck are so insane, they can definitely be tall enough to kick your arse. And if you play a lot of specials, your Gourds can go up to 25 points. It is pretty crazy. So yeah, definitely, if you want to play the biggest Gourds in town, this is the deck that will allow for it. Johnny is so cool in this deck. If he sticks, he definitely makes sure you can pew 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 pew, because you play so many specials. He's just gonna be absolutely amazing for this deck. I would love to fit Sarah in this deck, but unfortunately I didn't really find a way to do it. But Johnny by himself is very, very nice and good value. Then we have the Orbs of Insight, of course ideal Simlas targets. Nature's Rebukes offer you a little bit of control, can be nice. Sorceress of Dol Blathanna, Elven Seer, and Whisper of Dol Blathanna, they are all your combo cards. This Whisper gets a ton of points when you play specials. Usually when you open a round, you want to play your Sorceress and your Seers. Those are the first cards to put on the board. And then the Whisperer whenever you trigger some of these special cards. She's very, very valuable, so I wouldn't open up with her and then set up my Swear and my Sorceress. I would rather play these first and have her come down to hope that she will live. With the Sorceress, if she is boosted, you can find orbs from her, which can be really nice on the Seer. You can save your Simlas, so you don't have to play it out round 1. If you are able to set up your Sorceresses and your Seers, they don't get removed. You can use your TA potentially to buff it and create orbs from the Seers. That's kind of an ideal scenario. You can also use your Seer to create more orb copies when you play Simlas. Whisper of Dol Blathanna, of course, getting a huge amount of points just with these specials if she lives on the board. We talked a bit about Dryad's Caress, really good against something like Nilfgaard. It's just a nice card to have. A lot of the time these engines will get locked and then you have a Caress. But be careful, if the Elven Seer gets locked and you play a Caress on it, you automatically have to play the Caress twice. Pact is just a nice spell card. Some people asked, why am I not playing Swallow? And the answer is because of Alzur. Those are off targets for Alzur as well if you don't get your orbs or something goes wrong with the setup. Then you have your Squirrel. It's a really nice 4 provision card to just be able to tech in and against Northern Realms. Specifically, it can be nice. It can be nice against monsters when you can remove some of their graveyard, maybe disable some Mamudas. I will now jump into some games. I'm really excited about these ones. I caught some really fun games. I would like to point out that the version I was playing had the Tempering instead of the Dryad's Caress. Pretty small change. And also these games were played before the hotfix, but it doesn't change too much. We're gonna jump into our first game, and that is a monster game against Gernichora. Of course, they play the Caranthier Gernichora combination, which now is more of a Caranthier into a Mamuna, I guess, Mamuna, I don't know how to say. So nothing much has changed there either. They don't really affect our games too much. But alright, let's jump into these fun games, demonstrate this deck in action. I really hope you try it out. Also, I would like to really thank you guys for the support on my videos. I really appreciate all the engagement. It helps me so much. And if you want to check out some live games, then I stream at Twitch. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for all your kind feedback. I appreciate it, and I hope you will like this one too. So let's get into it. Let's see what we find here and how this game will turn out. I'm pretty excited for this one as well. We have queued into Inspired Zeal, meaning it's most likely to be some kind of a dual list or either Commandos, which were really popular last season. Let's check out what hand we have here, and we are on blue coin on this one. All right. We can start by mulliganing this Caress, and after that, Gord should go here just because we're never going to play Gord round 1. It's just one of those cards that I should be able to always tutor with the amount of tutors I have here, or thin enough to find it in round 3. So it's really no problem taking the mulligan on a Gord when you find it in round 1 in any matchup, honestly. I don't want to break any more orbs, so I definitely don't take another mulligan there to make sure Simless is not going to be bricked, because we want to tutor out those orbs from Simless. Alright, time to set up the combo pieces, usually consisting of all the bronze, different elven, I don't know, mages or something. The first one, the sorceress, comes online. Unfortunately, she gets boiling oiled, which is fair. NR does have boiling oils. They do have bombardments. And another card that I kind of think about while playing this matchup is Seltkirk. That's also why I don't really want to TA my cards, because I don't want to give the Seltkirk value. So I play out this Whisperess, and unfortunately she too does get boiling oiled by 2 boiling oils. So at least we now know that the boiling oils are out this early, which definitely isn't too bad. So I am going to play out this Johnny here. Seems like a good card to play. If it's going to be answered, it's pretty likely it will get answered by Seltkirk. It could also get answered by a bombardment, which would be really unfortunate, which makes me a little bit iffy about playing him. But I don't have that many other proactive plays now, so I think I should probably just go for it. As you can see, I'm a little bit hesitant here, but at the end, I choose to go for the Johnny. I don't TA it again because of Seltkirk. And we did see 2 boiling oils, so it's kind of likely my opponent doesn't have a lot of that bronze removal anymore in his hand. Okay, here comes the Amphibious Assault into a Commando, so now I for sure know that this is a Commando player. The Amphibious Assault is really nice for us to squirrel at some point, of course. It is very, very slow in terms of tempo, but if we can squeeze a squirrel in at some point this round, I'm gonna be really, really happy. Okay, I do have a couple of tutors now in hand here to tutor out another card for the combo piece. Getting a Seer is really nice here just because of Simlas and setting up the perfect orb combo. And the perfect orb combo is basically having 3 orbs in the graveyard that have the cooldowns 3, 2, and 1, because that means they will come out in a chain. Really good for playing something like Alzer and triggering him in 1 turn, or even Francesca. So I really want to set up that combo. Of course, after I have that combo, meaning after I play my Simlas, create 1 orb from the Seer and play 2 that he tutors out, I won't be able to play any more specials because that makes the orbs come out. So I still want to play a little bit more before I play the Simlas. The Simlas is usually kind of like a finishing play that you can take before leaving round 1 and before winning it. So let's see what I ended up playing here. We do have this squirrel. It's slow in terms of tempo, so I'm not too keen on playing it. Since Johnny's activated, I'm definitely looking to play a special. I'm looking at the deck there as well. I have a couple of these bronze cards that I could still play, so fob into Eastern Coast Council here means I can find another, hopefully bronze engine. I could have found Francesca there, which might have been a little bit overkill, but I decided to take the gamble and just go for the sorceress there. Finding the sorceress or the seer. The seer would have been a nice pull as well. And there was a whisperer in deck. So finding Francesca isn't very likely, but it could happen, so it might be a little bit of a risky play. But the odds are on my side at least. All right. I have this carryover card, the Scoia'tael carryover card, the Solve and me here. So it would be really nice if I get it out. With Johnny, this does play for a couple more points and I get the carryover card, which is super nice. Now this is a turn where I can choose to get ahead. It's nice because I want to keep my opponent playing. I could just go for a rebuke there and rebuke the commando. I don't want to do that, however. I'm just gonna go for a value caress because if I win this round and my opponent plays the commandos, I'm pretty happy because it means he has a little bit less power in round 2. I don't even need to use this veil stratagem here because I'm already ahead, so I can keep it. And yeah, our opponent is spawning those commandos, and like I said, I'm just happy to see them out round 1, honestly. If I can take the round, which I should be able to looking at my Simlas. Alright, I play the squirrel here. Perfect turn for the squirrel since I still get ahead with my tactical advantage for the veil stratagem. Opponent is still playing into this round just like I want to. And here comes the finishing play, which should give me this round for sure. So we can play 1 orb on the seer. It will create a new one, and this allows for us to get the perfect orb chain in graveyard without having them all come out at once. And we also get that carryover value. And this should be it. I don't think our opponent's gonna play more into this round. I love this about the deck, just the points that you're can put on the board in 1 turn after you've set up your combos. And Johnny, of course, really doing good work, missing that shield. Very proud of him. Thanks, Johnny. Okay, we take the pass, we win the round. Everything is exactly like we want to. Now, Siege players, as we know, this deck was really popular the season before. A lot of people played Siege. So that's a really nice card to get out. Besides, we have set up the perfect Simlas orb chain. So bleeding here is going to be very, very nice. If we get something like Alzer or Francesca, of course, an Aeromancy can help us find one. Now, I mulligan Pact. It's not that strong. Same with Caress. Just weak bronzes that I can take mulligans on. Alright, I'm going to play the Whisperer. I'm going to place her melee here because of Siege. Either way, I'll probably end up playing into 2 rows. But it's not a bad idea to play her melee to be sure. Now, she could get removed by something. At least we saw the 2 boiling oils, so we know they're not going to at least come in and take her out. But this bombardment is coming in really clutch for opponent, removing that Whisperer, which would have been a lot of points for us. Okay, well, I think this is the perfect turn to play a little bit of tempo and bleed. This deck does like to do so, play either Alzer or Francesca in round 2. I like to place Alzer on melee row when I have the chance of hitting a Hawker Smuggler, and I only play 6s. If you are going to play something like a Neuromancy, you might want to play him on ranged row because you could find a Keltolis from your Alzer, and usually you don't want that on melee row because it will eat up your own cards. Pretty nice pulls from Alzer here. He's not doing us dirty with any Berengars that disappear because there are no Witchers on the row. So we're pretty happy with this. Of course, the pool for all the cards that could come out is very big. Alright, I want to shorten the round a little bit. I take some of the Joanna value that I actually got here from opponent. Thank you. And yeah, I take a pass. Playing a Rebuke out is nice for the board, increasing that value and shortening the round 3. Like last say Gord, I'm really happy about. Okay, my opponent's just playing a defender here. Without the amphibious assault that we squirreled, it's gonna be really difficult for opponent to actually catch up in points here. So I think this is the ideal pass, and opponent's definitely gonna have to play quite a lot to catch up, and it will be hard. Playing a siege engine here to trigger out the siege. At least having to go down one card here. I don't think this bombardment is enough from the siege. So I'm quite happy about that, and opponent actually is going down one more card, playing the Pavetta to put the commandos back into the deck. And opponent is 2 cards down here, which is quite big for us, very big. Okay. Here we go. Now we are looking at our mulligans. This tempering could improve to a pact. We have access to the seer with a Neuromancy, so we can take a mulligan on the tempering because it could be a little bit better. I think that's the only card that could be upgraded. Alright, and we found literally everything we want. It doesn't get better than this, so we keep everything here. Alright, commandos coming out as expected. That's quite a few points on a short round, but we definitely should have more here. Our Gord by itself, it should be playing for about the same amount of points opponent just put on the board. We can play the Seer proactively. If we're scared of another bombardment, we can go ahead and play our leader to just make sure we get the value on her. There could be a Baron, usually it's a Seltkirk, so yeah, I'm not mad about this. Just using her for value here. Not losing out on the double card, and if we play double spells we get extra points on Gord, which we'll have last say anyway, so not too bad. Okay, after this we can go ahead and play our Francesca. It's pretty unlikely that opponent would have Seltkirk now that they used all of the leader charges. Nothing there to threaten the Francesca, and we see a bricked Hubert that opponent did save in round 2. Didn't want Hubert to come out, rather save all the pings and play another extra card to hold on to the Hubert. Didn't really end up working out as it's bricked. Even if it wouldn't be bricked and we saw something better from opponent, I think this is always going to be our win. Here we just maximize the Gord value, play for a little bit of fun. Of course, we're going to flex with this big Gord. Thank you, opponent, for letting me play it out. And just to demonstrate how many points this deck has in a short round 3, it's quite amazing. So yeah, that's our game, demonstrating really nicely how to win round 1 from blue coin, bleed out in round 2, and go into that short round with a last say Gord. Super nice. All right, let's jump into game number 1, see what we queue into with this list. Hey guys, it's editing me, and I would just like to mention that the next game I noticed is a little bit outdated just because of the hotfix, and the main difference being Idarin is included, which you are most likely not to see anymore now that Coranthier Gernichora isn't the ideal combination to pull, but it's not that much difference. I would like to mention that the strategy against monsters is still the same: win round 1, bleed round 2. I believe now people are playing the Coranthier into Mamuna, which is a pretty strong combo and definitely something you would like to bleed out as it's monster's best short round card. So just a heads up when we're watching this game, I still want to include it. I think it's super fun. I enjoyed playing it so much that I want to share it with you. But just keep in mind, this exact version of monsters will not be around, but the strategy is pretty much exactly the same. So there we go. This is gonna be a fun one, you guys. I can promise you that. We have queued into Gernichora. The croissant is hiding behind my face, but that is exactly what we queued into. And yeah, let's see how our deck will fare in this type of a matchup. Let's look a little bit at the mulligans that we are going to take here. Of course, we aim at winning the round. It's really important against Gernichora or any deck that is playing Bloody Mistress and Mamuna and all of those cards. It is definitely important. You need to bleed out that combo, otherwise you can struggle in a long round, especially now that people have started teching these Jordans and things like that to counter basically a mirror matchup, and that definitely hurts our deck because we boost a lot of units, so Jordan is not great for us. Alright, we take the Tempering as a mulligan. It's kind of a weak special target anyway for provisions, kind of a mulligan target there. Then we're going to take the Pact mulligan, as you saw there, because Pact is stronger with Alzer later on. It's nice to have a double copy there in deck, just waiting for later rounds, and it's not a really great card for us either. Very bronze heavy hand here. We haven't drawn too much. Opponent of course starts with double larva here and plays out the Self-Eater. New card for monsters, seems really strong so far. All right, what we want to do is set up the combo, and the combo here is playing the Seer, playing this Doblathana Whisperer, or Sorceress, sorry, and then the Whisperer, of course, they're at three powers, another unit that we want to play. Monsters, of course, is a very like point slammy deck. I think this Megascope is pretty funny, of course, on the Self-Eater. It's a very solitaire type of deck that plays a lot of units on their own side and typically don't have that much removal or control, except for the Crone. The Crone is definitely something you need to be a little bit careful of, so keep in mind how many Crones your opponent is playing. And Doragary, which is why we run the Caress, and I think double Caress in this deck instead of the Tempering, switching out a Caress is a good idea to make sure you can counter all of those locks. It's not good against just monsters. Doragary, it's also good against Nilfgaard and anything that plays locks on your unit. So double Caress is a consideration, since you could potentially even play it from Simlas. But yeah, we haven't seen anything that really threatens removal. If there's a Doragary, I can always use the Caress here to purify it. So I'm just sitting here putting my units on the board, and there's nothing really here that makes me remove it. What I'm aiming to do here is to boost with the Caress one of my sorceresses to then pull out one of the orbs. And of course the point gap, as you can see, is really big, but it's the beauty of this deck. I play this Francesca as well, kind of saying I need it if I'm able to catch up in points here, and this is where the fun begins. This is what you can do. Set up your combo. Here we go. We're hoping we're finding at least one orb from either of these sorceress. We do find the first orb here. So it is time to copy it by playing it on these Seers. And of course Francesca here creates yet another orb. What I'm doing here is just replaying the orbs because those are points, and I still have an unused order there on the sorceress. So this orb find is definitely very nice. We're relying a little bit on RNG here, but a lot of the time you will find the orb, and we had 2 tries there with both of the sorceresses, so it's fairly safe to hold it. And I choose another orb here from the sorcerers because it will be carryover for my graveyard. And the point swing is just insane, and that's what makes this deck so fun. So winning round 1 is definitely important, but the nice thing about it is you can win round 1 with Scoia'tael now. I'm really excited because this is my favorite faction, and I'm just happy to see it like be playable again and definitely strong. So yeah, I take a pass here. I'm fine. I will bleed round 2. I kind of have to, because like I said, the combo in monsters with the Mamuna, the Gernichora, Caranthir into the Gernichora, it's huge. So here we go. I want to look at the deck, see what I find. The double Rebuke here I don't really care for. I could definitely find something better in my deck, so I take a mulligan there. I do find the Alzer, which is ideal for me to bleed with. Now here, when I look at this matchup back, we see we have an orb there at 3 cooldown, by the way. When I look at this matchup, I'm kind of saying to myself, don't take that last mulligan because I could brick the Simlas. And I decided to take this last mulligan here on the board to put it back in the deck, since I can always tutor it out later, and it's kind of a round 3 card. I of course end up regretting it because I break into that orb. Now I still have the double Pact, which is, you know, Pact is nice. It is there for Simlas, so it's kind of a off target in case you end up breaking your orbs, but definitely remember to be a little bit careful with the mulligans. I definitely have to bleed. I just lose a a long round to Gernichora, so I'm checking my graveyard here, seeing what is the best potential play. I find the fob there. The fob can play a Call of the Forest. We play as many specials as we can just to make sure the gourd will be as big as possible. And trust me, this deck runs like the gourd level is insane. They're definitely tall enough to kick your ass and then some. Excuse my language. I guess ours is what he's saying. There we go, fob into the Call of the Forest here. And into the Whisper, just because she will benefit a lot from the cards that we play. I am planning in my head to play out this Alzer. And now we also, by playing this fob, we trigger this special. Sorry, the orb was at 2 cooldown, and now it's at 1. So by playing the fob, we make sure the cooldown goes down in the orb. And now that we play Tempering, this is the beauty of this deck. You can trigger your Alzer in 1 turn ideally. Of course, we don't have a lot of those orbs in graveyard now because we play them round 1, but it's fine. We can trigger it at least once. The Tempering on the Alzer here is slightly questionable because it could play into a Heatwave, but it's fine. The orb would also just boost it up. So the aim here is, of course, to go Simlas into Pact or a Neuromancy into the spell to make sure that I can trigger this Alzer if it doesn't die. Pretty lucky here because we do see the Darn come down from opponent. One of the key cards of the Gurney combo that it likes to make. Really benefiting on those fruits. Now I can play this Neuromancy into my spell here, the new Scoia'tael, a 9 provision spell that works a little bit like a carryover boat type of thing. It's pretty fun. Alright, we find the Rians, really nice pull. And here I go and find a Colgrim from the 9 provision spell there. This Colgrim, of course, I'm protecting of the poly armor that I got there, and this is really nice. Of course, a Neuromancy and the 9 provision card, both triggering Alzer's ability. Now, you have to be a little bit careful with Alzer. There is a chance you can get a Keltolis, so sometimes you want to play a range throw, just to make sure you don't get that. I did end up placing it melee here, and I'm happy because I pulled a Rions. Rions and She Who Knows make Alzer even better, I think, like Alzer and Neuromancy combo, because those are pretty nice pulls. So here we go, we have a Rions. Opponent is definitely playing points, and we know they have a lot of cards for a lot of points, so we don't have to be like too comfortable even though we are ahead by a ton. So let's see here. Of course, the Colgrim now is just so ideal with the Simlas. So we have the Simlas into double pact to thin our deck, so I definitely want to keep playing here. I say I haven't really seen enough from my opponent. I'm using the Rions here just to benefit most from his ability. I think this is probably going to be the most beneficial for me. And I play the Orb just to put it back in the graveyard so that I can still get it potentially in round 3 if I play enough specials. Which I will, because the Simlas, of course, plays 2 specials and the cooldown of the Orb there in the graveyard is going down, of course. This is really nice. Opponent plays Mamuna, and Mamuna, of course, is the monster's best short round card. So here I go, playing the double pact. So then the mulligan there did really end up costing me. As you can see, that's a lot of points, and we are ahead by so much, and the Colgrim is activated and keeps ticking away for like a solid amount of points, which is quite fun. All right, and here comes the first crone, I believe, from opponent. Now I take the pass, just ahead in points, and the Colgrim still going. We see an Neuromancy from opponent, and there is the Yrden. This means, this is one of the reasons why you really have to bleed Gurney or any kind of monsters deck. There's a lot of Yrden, it seems, in these, so getting them out is nice. And we also get the damage crone out. Another nice pull for us. While of course keeping our cards, so we have card advantage going to round 3, meaning our board is basically untouchable. Okay, we find Double Rebuke and the Gourd. I haven't found Johnny yet. Johnny here is definitely the best card to find. So I'm gonna try and search for it. In the graveyard we have 1 orb that has 1 cooldown, so it will come out the next special we play. Yep, I'm still looking for the Johnny here, so I think I'm gonna take a mulligan here on the orb. It isn't great in round 3, and we do end up finding the Johnny. Let's see what my opponent has left. We haven't seen Gernichora yet, so that's definitely something that could be played round 3. But in this short of a round, it's not terrible because it's very hard for opponents to get Sabbath. Now I'm playing Johnny. Of course, it could still be answered with Dora Gary. That's definitely a card I've seen a lot from monsters, so I'm kind of hoping here that it doesn't, but I don't really have another proactive play. So I'm just going for it. And of course, I have a Giant's Gourd right now. So whatever I do here, I will have a lot of points. Here's the Bloody Mistress. And I'm thinking I'm gonna rebuke it, but then I'm like, wait a minute, I could Necromancy into the rebuke here to just get a really nice chance of killing it with Johnny. Unfortunately, Johnny here misses it, but that's all right still. And out comes our carryover spell card there from the graveyard. When you play 3 cards, it will pop out again. And as you can see, we have currently a 25-point gourd. That is very big.
No magic can.
And yeah, I was going to play, but our opponent did concede. It's very likely that we will catch up in that amount of cards. So this, I think, demonstrates really well what you have to do when you're playing against monsters. And yeah, kind of an ideal game for us, I would say, and really fun. Like the Alzur pose is just, every time I play this deck, I have so much fun. All right. Thank you so much everyone for watching. I hope you liked it as much as I did. It was such a, I love this deck. Let me know what you guys think, and maybe I'll see you on stream. Maybe I'll see you for the next YouTube video. I have a couple of decks I want to make videos on, so I'll try to be efficient in that regard. Bye. See you guys.